Hello stampers, this is Yana Smakula. Welcome back for another Hero Arts video. In this one, which is a part of the color layering series, we're taking a closer look at the color layering beach HeroScape stamp set. Join me as I play around with this set and show you how to combine it with other stamps from Hero Arts to make colorful greeting cards. Color Layering Beach HeroScape's stamp set has a gorgeous layering image of the water, or I should say the shore. Here I have the base layer. I've placed it inside my mini Misty. I'm using Hero Arts Misty in black today, and I'm going to stamp this base layer using two colors of ink, or two shades of one color, to add a bit of color variation to this image. I'm using Splash and Aquatic colors. Unlike other color layering videos I've done in the past, in this video, I'm not going to focus on various colors of ink one can use with this stamp set. Instead, I'm going to show you various scene examples one can build using this set. I had the best time stamping these images and going through my stash of stamps looking for other stamp sets that I can combine with this one to create unique scenes for my handmade cards. And I have honestly just scratched the surface of all the various possibilities. Let's go back to the stamping for a moment. Here's the top layer for this image, and the way I align it is I just align the top left hand side corner. This is what I really love about the HeroScape's stamp sets. They have been designed so that it is very easy to align the layers, even if your stamps have been well inked and well used and are no longer see-through like this top layer here. You can see it has been inked in blue so many times I can't really see through it anymore, yet I can still align those layers with ease and continue to have fantastic layered results on my handmade cards. Now to stamp this top layer, I picked several colors of ink again, and I went with indigo and navy colors, although I also used blue Hawaii and navy for some of the other cards I will share today. Hero Arts has many ink pads with various shades of blue available, nice true blue colors, blue-green colors, light blue, dark blue, so there's a number of possibilities to stamp this image and make it any color you like. You can also go on the wild side and perhaps use sunset or sunrise colors and even stamp the water in pinks and purples. Here's one image I stamped earlier using soft pool, mint julep, Antigua, and ocean colors, and that looks so blissful and so peaceful to me. So you have various options when it comes to stamping this water image for your cards. Now there is a coordinating die available that will cut this image out. Now it's an open edge die, so it will not cut all the way around, but it will leave the opposite side intact like you see here. And you can easily trim that using your paper trimmer, or you can use that to your advantage and create a card with a clever opening. So you just have more options with this coordinating die. Now, another fun thing you can do is you can layer those images to create a bigger image or have this water cover a larger area on your card. As for making a card, it is very easy to make a basic scene with this stamp. You just need to add a panel of craft cardstock to represent sand, add a panel of light blue to represent the sky, and the basic scene would be set. It is as easy as that, and you have your lovely beach. You can also use this image on a landscape card, and this is how you can extend the water by layering your die kits. I have two die kits here, but imagine adding a third one on top to extend the water even further. So just keep in mind that you can layer these to cover a larger portion of your card and create different scenes for your projects. I have already made one card using the basic scene layout you can create using this stamp set. I have my beach, and I added some color to it with the help of ink blending. I ink blended soft brown ink over the sand cardstock from Hero Arts. I also added dots with my Copic markers and a white pen. I combined this set with an older color layering stamp set from Hero Arts, and I used color layering palm tree, and I even added a tiny little monkey hanging in the tree. I die-cut fluffy clouds using dies from the HeroScape Lavender and Tulip field sets. And finally, I stamped seagulls in the sky to complete this scene. So you can see I pulled various stamp sets together to create this scene, and it was really, really fun to do. For my next project, I decided to add mountains to the horizon line, add a lighthouse to my sea, and layer 2 water images to extend the waterline. I started with a panel of Arctic cardstock that was cut to 4 by 5 1/4 inches, and I used glue to adhere the 2 water die cuts onto the panel. I trimmed the excess die cut and used those leftover pieces to fill in the gaps that I had at the bottom so that it looked like one continuous water. So here I basically extended the water all the way across my card and just needed 2 die cuts to do that. Next, I decided to add mountains to the scene, and I used the Hero Arts Mountains at the Lake stamp set. I actually featured this set in my previous episode, and I encourage you to check it out for more stamping ideas. I stamped 2 mountain ridges, one in brown using Cup Joe and soft brown inks, and one in blue using Splash and navy inks. My plan was to adhere the mountains where the water ends to create a more interesting horizon line for this card, and you can see that the mountains don't exactly go all the way across the card. So I added a small rock from the beach stamp set to complete the mountain ridge. I actually stamped a number of rocks using the same brown inks, Cup Joe and soft brown, and I've cut them out using coordinating dies. And that smaller rock worked perfectly to fill in that gap that I had there. I used glue and adhered the mountains in place, and I also used the little axis pieces on the other side of the card to continue the blue mountains all the way across. Now, I love how you would sometimes see beautiful rocks coming out of the sea, so I decided to recreate that look on this card, and I added several rocks up at the top and 2 more down at the bottom to create a really rocky shore. I also wanted to add a lighthouse to this scene. I felt like it would be a really nice addition, so I pulled a lighthouse image from another stamp set from Hero Arts. This is Seize the Day Seagulls set, and I did some creative stamping to add dimension to this image. I first stamped it in the lightest blue ink, Splash ink, on white cardstock. Here, I once again used my Misty stamping tool as I knew I would need to stamp this image multiple times for the look that I had in mind. Next, I used a slightly darker blue, a medium blue in my case, and this is aquatic ink, and I inked up just the sides of the lighthouse, keeping the center portion free from any ink. This added some shading to my image. And lastly, I used even darker blue. This is indigo to have even darker edges of the lighthouse. I double and even triple stamped this image to have the desired look. I also used my Copic markers in W3 and W1. These are warm gray markers to add some shading to the white areas on the lighthouse. And then I cut the image out using a coordinating die. With all the elements ready, I adhered the pieces in place using foam adhesive and glue. Next, I stamped sentiment for this card that reads, "It's your birthday, relax and enjoy," and this sentiment comes from the Mountains and the Lake stamp set. I also stamped several seagulls flying in the sky and over the sea, and I used a black ink for that. I foam mounted my panel onto an A2 white side folding card base, and that finished this card. For my next project idea, I was inspired by Mediterranean coastal towns like Santorini, where the sea is hitting the cliffs and the houses and the buildings are scattered up the steep hills. To recreate that look, I once again stamped and cut out one water die cut. I also prepared many other die cuts using stamps from the Hero Arts, Tulip, and Lavender Fields HeroScape sets. I stamped and cut out a tree and several clouds from the Tulip set, as well as houses, a large and a small house, several trees, and clouds from the Lavender set. I used the same colors of ink as I did before and stamped the houses in various shades of blue. The trees were stamped using green ombre ink, and the clouds were simply die cut using coordinating dies. The stamping part was omitted. To add some softness to my panel, I added a little bit of white ink with the help of my ink blending tools. I just dabbed white pigment ink directly onto the upper portion of the panel to mimic clouds. And I've shared this technique before. It is one of my favorites to create a soft sky background. Next, I adhered my water die cut using glue. I had already planned this card and I took a photo of the prototype with my phone, so I pulled up that photo on my phone and followed that to the T to recreate what I had already planned. I used my large foam adhesive squares and also glue and adhered each of the elements in place. I forgot to mention that I also stamped and cut out a number of rocks, and I used the same soft brown and capuchon inks as I did on the other cards to stamp these images. I worked from the top down, adding houses, rocks, and trees, having those cascade from the top down onto the card. The trees were mostly used to fill in any gaps and hide the seams between the images, if you know what I mean. Here is what the finished panel looks like. I just adore the result, and while it did take a bit longer to put this card together, I think it was absolutely worth it. I stamped a sentiment that reads, "Thinking of you up in the sky above my scene." I added soft white clouds and also added several stamped seagulls in the sky. I decided to add another water die cut to the scene, and so I added a partially one directly above my main water area and trimmed the excess off. This just added additional waves to the scene and made it a bit more interesting. I foam mounted this panel onto an A2 white side folding card base and called this card done. These cards were an absolute pleasure to make, and I'm looking forward to using the Beach HeroScapes stamp set with my other Hero Art sets again in the future. I can see making many more stunning scenes for my cards. I hope this video has given you some stamping ideas to try with your color layering stamp sets from Hero Arts. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.